John, thanks very much. Minister, Tony, Jenny, delegates, thank you very much for having us here today. Professor Peter Doherty, Nobel Prize winner, has said humanity's greatest challenge is to minimise the consequences of climate change, and with challenge comes opportunity. And today I just want to emphasise the opportunity that's sitting in there for us as a nation in ambitious action to tackle climate change. The United Nations Environment Programme last year, in a study looking at green jobs towards decent work in a sustainable, low-carbon world, identified that global green markets are expected to double by 2020. Currently, they're at about $1.4 trillion a year. They're expected to be over 2.7 trillion. Those figures can be meaningless. That's about the equivalent of 20% of the US gross domestic product. It's a very big piece of the global economy, and it's growing rapidly. With pleasure, the Australian Conservation Foundation joined with the ACTU last year, and we did an analysis of green job opportunities in Australia, and we released a report called Global Green Gold Rush. And in that report, we worked with unions and industry sectors to identify 6 sectors where Australia had a particular global advantage in the green jobs arena. And those sectors, and I don't think any of them would be of a surprise, those sectors are renewables, energy efficiency, sustainable water systems, biomaterials. That means using biological things like cornstarch instead of plastics, biomaterials, green buildings, waste and recycling. And that study identified there's approximately 500,000 new job opportunities in green, or you could call it, if you wish, clean energy jobs in Australia sitting there by 2030. I'll come back to that in a sec because I want to pick up a point the Minister raised. This is not just about new or boutique green jobs. If you look at the whole of Australia's economy at the moment, there are very substantial parts of our economy that could be very seriously disrupted by climate change. For example, agriculture, the Murray-Darling River system is at grave risk. For example, the tourism sector, some of our great natural icons that are the foundation of our international tourism sector are at great risk, including the Great Barrier Reef, Kakadu, the wet tropical rainforests and the Alps. One example, the Great Barrier Reef brings in between $1 to $2 billion a year to the Australian economy through nature-based recreation and tourism. That generates over 10,000 jobs. Most of those jobs are for younger Australians in the areas where we have higher unemployment. So parts of our economy are extremely susceptible to climate change if we don't act. And also, as the Minister said, to be competitive in a world that's rapidly putting a price on carbon, that's happening now, that's out there in the marketplaces. Our existing jobs, even in high emission sectors, are going to be more secure if we can bring those emissions down. So this is about securing jobs across our whole economy and opening opportunities for new jobs. Now, none of this will just happen by itself. How do we position ourselves to grasp this opportunity? I want to suggest to you 3 things that are crucial, and they're all in the policy arena. This will make or break whether we're a leader or a laggard in the generation of jobs in a low-carbon economy. Firstly, perversely, the global financial crisis presents opportunity as well, because stimulus packages of governments can stimulate and position an economy well for a low-carbon future. Green stimulus. For example, I want to commend in the last budget, the government allocated about $4.6 billion for public transport. Historic, a federal government hasn't invested in public transport at that scale again. We need to do much more, but it does generate jobs. The government allocated $1.5 billion in a major program into solar at scale. That's good. We can do much more. The government has allocated over $3 billion into insulation for our homes. That's good. We can do much more. So green stimulus, very important in this space. Secondly, skills development and training. That's a given. I won't go into that into too much detail. Thirdly, in the straight policy arena to bring down our emissions, to bring us into a low-carbon economy. And we think it's essential that we're strengthening and passing, as a matter of urgency, renewable energy legislation, that we're strengthening and passing the CPRS. We think it's also essential we develop new laws to promote energy efficiency more vigorously in Australia. And then thirdly, Australian leadership at Copenhagen is essential, because if the world moves more rapidly to a low-carbon economy, that will create market opportunities for us as well, apart from tackling climate change. Leadership at Copenhagen, strengthening and passing renewables and CPRS, and new laws on energy and fuel efficiency. Let me just finish with this quote. We need a robust growth based on a highly educated, well-trained workforce and clean energy jobs and industries. That's where our future is, and that's where the jobs are. That's President Obama last night launching a Cash for Clunkers program of the US, putting a large amount of money aside to buy people's old cars, get them off the road, and help people buy energy efficient new cars. Good for the environment, good for jobs, and probably good for the car industry in the US as well. Thank you very much.